All right, so sometimes I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I just feel like I got to talk about what what sort of just comes up. But I'm gonna talk about something I've talked about before, and it has to do with prophecy. What is a true prophet? What is a false prophet? And I was reading Jeremiah. I'm gonna read a little bit from Jeremiah to sort of because it sort of started this thing. I was in Jeremiah. It sparked something, and then I think I was on Twitter or something like that, and I saw some some stuff. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because it's still an issue for the church. The church is still split. We have people who claim to be prophets who are still prophesying and or still standing by their prophecies. And I think that you understand that this is in regards to primarily in regards to the election, generally in regards to the future of the nation. And that's one side of the church. But the other side of the church is dead set on pointing their finger and castigating these Christians as false prophets, proclaiming them as false prophets. And so, first of all, point one that I want to make is it's disappointing that the church is so polarized. I want to say that it's weird too because I am somebody that I think in terms of black and white, right and left. It is the way that I deal in logic. Pro and con list. I mean, this is how I juxtapose everything. This is just how I sort of set my bearings for life. And so I want to say, first of all, that I understand this polarization concept, this very stark, either this or that way of viewing things. But let's say in regards to black and white, the way what's disappointing is that even me who does this all the time, who enjoys it and feels like this is the only way I can actually understand the world and reality is to put things in either black or white. I still understand we live in a world that is gray, okay? Because we are mixed people. We have all these different areas where, yes, there may be things that are black and white, but everything merges together and none of us can possibly see it so clearly that that we could stand and proclaim, you know, unless God comes to you, right, and tells you, and you're used to hearing God's voice, and you're um, this is the thing that is at stake, I guess. This is the thing that I'm grappling with. Um, so there's two sides to the argument. The pro prophecy and the negative prophecy. And the negative prophecy side isn't filled with people who are against prophecy generally speaking, but some of them are, but not all of them are. But they seem to be have anointed themselves as the church commandants that will that know for sure that somebody is a false prophet. And I this side frustrates me more than the prophets do, if I'm being completely honest, because I feel like, look, if let's get into prophecy generally, okay? As a Christian, have you ever considered, and I'm just speaking rhetorically here, okay, when I say stuff like this, because I'm not trying to talk down to people. Um, have you ever considered the fact that the founders of our faith were Jews, and when they wrote the New Testament, when they said that Jesus, the Messiah, was spoken about in prophecy, do you ever consider the fact that many Jews, in fact, most Jews then and most Jews now, don't see Jesus in these prophecies? If you don't understand this fact, if you don't acknowledge this fact, then you shouldn't be condemning so easily anyone for being a false prophet. And if you do acknowledge this fact, then you ought to know better. That to me is the burden of responsibility that I see in regards to people who are condemning a false prophecy. And in regards to what I was talking about being polarized, what I want to explain to people is that you don't have to have this position where you either believe and trust what they say, or you castigate them as heretics or false prophets. You don't have to do that. You can simply sit back and say, I'm going to wait and see. I don't know. God didn't talk to me. You know, that could be your position. That's my position. God didn't talk to me. He didn't tell me about it. He didn't tell me stuff. They didn't say whatever. And here's the thing that I think's got everybody on that side. The church commandants, the generals on the staff of God who's going to weed out the false prophets. They've got it in their head that because January 20th came and went, that somehow this means for sure that the prophecy failed. Well, again, I want to take you back to the Old Testament. If you read those Old Testaments, prophecies that foretell Jesus, let me tell you something. All those prophets died before they saw it happen. And if you talk to Jews, they will give you an explanation for some contemporary or some other fulfillment that took place that wasn't Jesus. Now, for me, I can see how you can have both a contemporary fulfillment and it could still be alluding to Jesus. I think that's what somebody like Matthew is showing. He's showing how God works in patterns. What am I saying about prophecy? What I'm saying about prophecy, it isn't even about predicting anything. This is the thing that's crazy. I mean, people need to stop and understand something. A prophet isn't somebody who's predicting things. And what I mean by that is it isn't for you in the present to know what's going to happen in the future. It's for you when you get to that point to know that it happened and to look back and see that God knew it was going to happen and that it was written and foretold. That's what it's for. So this idea that you can wait on a date and say, it didn't happen, I don't see how you can do that. Because we could get 2 months down the road from now and something in the news could break and it could change everything and make those prophets correct. And what are these church commandants who know for sure just because a date came and went that means that the prophecy didn't come? Because I'll be honest, I've been listening to a lot of these prophets, okay? And I don't remember any of them saying January 20th. Who says January 20th? The American government does. Does God take orders from the American government? And look, I understand. I understand what goes through people's mind when you say that. That this is just an excuse for people who to create prophecies, throw them out willy-nilly, and then when they don't happen, they can then justify it by things like what I just said. Look, I didn't make the prophecy. Again, God didn't talk to me. I'm just telling you that I don't think you can put God in a box like that. I don't think you can say, well, January 20th came and went. Who cares? Did God create this calendar? No. This is a Gregorian calendar. It's got a month named after Julius Caesar. It's got days named after Roman gods and Greek gods. This isn't God's calendar. So I think we need to get this in our mind because, or get this out of our mind because this idea again, uh, how do you proclaim prop? Because I can tell you right now, if you're going to do this, you can go into the Old Testament and you can proclaim Jeremiah as a false prophet, as an example, because when he talked about how the next temple was going to come, he talked about it in a lot grander of status than it actually did. There's this concept about I forget the term now, but I think it's something like here but not yet, where there's a partial fulfilling, but the fullness hasn't come yet. Like it's the Old Testament's replete in this sort of stuff. Jesus embodies this. This is one of the reasons why Jews don't accept Christ, because they say world peace isn't here. He can't be the Messiah. And yet they also have these traditions of the son of David and the son of Joseph. So they think two different messiahs, where we go, no, it's just two different comings. But either way, you're talking about two different manifestations. Where for us, we're saying, okay, there was a down payment, so to speak, this of God with us, that Emmanuel prophecy has come, but the other side is we're still waiting on. So do you say, well, it didn't happen, it's false prophecy? No, you don't say that. You don't say that about Jesus. So I think people need, so obviously my criticism is for those who proclaim themselves to be the champions of the church and want to root out the false prophets. I just think you better be careful. You better be careful about that. Because I don't, and this goes to what is the nature of a prophet? True or false? Is that really what? Because I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong because I've just sort of given you a reason why I don't know that in our human lifetimes even we could justify proclaiming somebody wrong or somebody right. And then how do you know, again, if a date passes, if January 20th comes and they say Trump's going to be president, and January 20th comes because that's the date that we've always done things by, and you say, therefore, false prophecy, are you then proclaiming that it will never happen? And then how does that make you any different than the prophet who says it will? To me, you sound like you're very much the same in that you're saying, I know the future, and the future is that Trump won't be the president. And the other person's saying, I know the future, and the future is Trump will be the president again. You see the problem here? If you're somebody who's claiming to be the uprooter of all false prophecy, you sound just like them. That's a big issue for me. And again, let's go back to what I was kind of talking about. What is how do you how do you define what a false prophet is? Let me, on this note, I'm going to bring in Jeremiah here, and I'm sure there's stuff in here that will back this up more than this. This is just what I was reading the other night. So let's see. It says here. Where do I want to start? It says, look, you are trusting in deceptive words that are empty. Now see how we can all jump on that, right? Okay. Empty words. And that was I'm in chapter 7, verse 8. Look, you are trusting in deceptive words that are empty. Will you steal, murder, and commit adultery and perjury, and offer incense to Baal, and walk after other gods whom you have not known? And then come and stand before me in this house that bears my name, saying, we are saved, so that you may keep doing all these abominations? Has this house which bears my name become a den of robbers in your eyes? Look, even I have seen it. It is a declaration of Adonai. And so what I want to say about that is I want you to notice this didn't say anything about coming to pass and you proclaiming it. This is talking about allegiance. This is talking about allegiance. And I want to say to you that I think a false prophet is somebody who's not allied with God. This is not somebody who feels a word from God and then in English language attempts to explain it. Because the truth is if you have any understanding about reading all these prophecies in here, like they're very enigmatic. Even the ones that, if they're true, and even if they're false, they're still talking in a way because they read these too. A false, and I mean false prophet in the sense that they're a charlatan, right? They're they're attempting to pretend to be a prophet, and they're going to talk like this. So they're going to talk vaguely. So how do you know they're wrong? You can't possibly know they're wrong. This is the problem that you have. So how do you know they're wrong? You know they're wrong by their fruit. You can judge them by their fruit. It says here, the children of Judah have done what is evil in my sight. It is a declaration of Adonai that they set their detestable things in the house that bears my name to defile it. They have built the high places of Topheth in the valley of Ben Hinnom to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I did not command, nor did even enter my mind. And so you see here, the divide is not about they made a claim and it hasn't come true yet. These people he's talking about who are against him, you can see by their actions what they are doing. And I have to ask the people who proclaim that these false prophets are false, are you saying that because they missed the mark in your eyes on a date? Or are you saying that because you actually think their fruit is similar to what I just read to you? Now, if you say that their fruit is this way, then I think you're more in line with being correct if that's true. But you better have that evidence to say that. And that's a big, that again, I don't see, that's not what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing Christians do is condemn other Christians of being false prophets. And here's the thing, some of these prophets were right before. So you better be careful. You better be careful. I mean, I don't know that they're right now. And what do you say about when they were right before? Do you say that was lucky? They're just throwing things out and they got it correct? If you say, well, they were right about Trump beating Hillary, but that's a 50% chance anyway. Well, okay, I understand that point, but that's sort of reinventing what we all experienced because the way that everybody talked about Trump winning was in miraculous terms, and they were out in front saying these things, many of them before he even got close to the Republican nomination. Don't forget that. So it isn't 50-50. So the odds were heavily stacked against them at that time, and it came to pass. And so all I'm saying to people is when it seems very difficult to me to proclaim the biblical high ground when your point is January 20th. I'm sorry, that's not biblical high ground. January 20th, a date. That's not biblical high ground to me. And so I guess that's pretty much all I've got to say on that. Um, be careful. Like I said, the main point I want to get across here, you don't have to condemn anybody. Isn't vengeance the Lord's anyway? Why do you feel the need to tell people that they're a false prophet? I think if God came to me and I went out, as any of you stepped out in faith, it isn't exactly easy to do sometimes. And then you got fellow brothers and sisters because it looks like you missed the mark coming on you and really defaming your character. And maybe maybe they are just charlatans, and but I mean all of them. Come on, there's a lot of people that they don't seem to be making money off of this. They just seem to be, they in their mind at least, they think they're doing what God told them to do. And so I think that in this case, I'm much harder on the people in the church that are, again, setting themselves up as the a chieftain of the church tribe, and telling everybody else who to watch out for, because that's casting stones. So anyway, I hope this is, maybe there's some of you who've been feeling the same way, and it's taken me a little bit. I hope I articulated it right, and correctly. And but anyway, so maybe the other people who maybe have seen it from the outside, the church sort of infighting on this issue, maybe this brings a balance to it, because again, you don't have to take that position. You don't have to believe them. You can wait. You can just wait and pray. Why can't you just be still and know that God's God? Why do you have to be the condemner, or the believer in that specific person's? That's for them. Let them stand on faith then. You just stand with what God's given you. Why can't we do that as the church? So anyway, like and share if you think it's worthy, and until next time, see you later.